Welcome to this short workshop on riding to and for work as a key worker. This short course has been designed to help key workers ride safely to and from work and also ride for work, particularly in the current context of the COVID-19 outbreak. It will cover safe rider training protocols during COVID-19, novice riders, riding in the UK, occupational riding risk, riding at night, lone working and staying safe. Whether you're a novice rider or an experienced rider, your on-road risk increases, particularly when riding or driving for work. That's why we've designed this course to help take you through some of the key risks and how to manage them. On a motorcycle, the social distancing rule can be observed, but you must ensure that to the best of your knowledge, you've not been in contact with someone with COVID-19 or showing any symptoms of the disease that the government has highlighted if you are going to be engaging in training or coming into contact with other people in the course of your work and riding. Cleanliness, as it is in all aspects of our life at the moment, is key, and you should use all available equipment and methods to keep your hands clean at all times. Wash your hands thoroughly just before getting on your bike and immediately afterwards. Use a high alcohol hand sanitizer or antibacterial wipes if you cannot wash your hands with soap and water. You may be asked to supply and wear clean disposable gloves, or your trainer may provide them for you. Put them on just after cleaning your hands and dispose of them responsibly after the session. Do not touch your face, as this can help the virus to spread. If you need to touch your face, wash your hands before and after to minimise risk. Have clean tissues and antibacterial wipes to hand when you're riding or standing by the bike in a riding training scenario, if you need to cough or sneeze. If you're riding at the time and you've sneezed on your visor, you may wish to pull over when safe to do so to clean your visor and hands and dispose of any cleaning materials. Dispose of any tissues, wipes, gloves responsibly after any training sessions in a disposable bag. Before any training session, or if engaging with people in the course of riding or your riding work, ensure you're not at risk of having COVID-19 and infecting others. Do you have or think you may have any symptoms of coronavirus? Check this link if you're unsure of the symptoms. Are you in an at-risk sector, i.e. you have a health condition that could be made worse by being exposed to COVID-19? Or you're living with someone that could be at risk as well. Check the symptoms and check your risk factors before engaging in any riding or training that could expose you to further risk. And follow the NHS advice. Your instructor has already received training in safe rider training protocols, particularly during this outbreak. Therefore, they will run through a series of checks before, after and during lessons and carry out extra procedures to keep you, themselves and the wider public safe. For example, your instructor will call you before each and every lesson to ensure, as far as you can be sure, that you're both okay to continue training today. They'll be calling to make sure that you haven't got a high fever or temperature, that you aren't experiencing continuous cough, or you don't think you've been exposed to the symptoms in any way. They will limit the amount of physical contact with you. They will greet you in a friendly way, but they will not be shaking hands with you. Your instructor will want to see your physical driving licence at the start of any training they do with you and will ask you to hold this up because they can see it. They won't touch your licence, so don't offer it to them. Your instructor will also deal with any paperwork on your behalf. This will be done with your knowledge and consent, but they won't be asking you to sign it or share any materials with them at this time. The instructor will ensure the bike and equipment is thoroughly cleaned before you get on. This will include all controls and all external contact points. If you become unwell or start to cough continuously, the session will be stopped. The same applies for the instructor. All lessons will be unaccompanied at this time. This means you cannot bring a friend or a relative to the session. To help minimise the risk of using your own bike and your own riding, keep your bike as clean as possible and clean all the controls in line with the advice on the previous slide. It's also important to run through a checklist to make sure your vehicle is safe. Is your bike legal as well? Is your bike suitably taxed? Is your bike insured for the purposes of commuting or being for use for work purposes? You may previously have had your bike insured for social and domestic use only, but now are using it to commute or largely in your working role. So check with your insurer you have the right policy in place or may need to change that. Check you've got the right MOT, the current MOT in place. MOT rules have changed, so check the link below for more information. There are certain mnemonics that driver and rider trainers use as a checklist for checking your vehicle is safe for the road before you ride. It's important at any time that you manage the risk of causing a breakdown or accident on any of our roads by checking over the vehicle before you ride. It's increasingly important at this time, so we don't put any more stress on frontline services to deal with your breakdown or accident. A rider training mnemonic is the Baltis method. Brakes. Do they work correctly? Is there enough brake fluid in the reservoir? Oil and fluids. Check engine oil, brake fluid and power steering fluid are at the correct levels. Lights. Are all lights working properly, including brake lights and rear number plate lights? Tyres. Check the tyres are in good condition and inflated properly to the manufacturer guidelines. Steering. Is there anything stopping the handlebars turning correctly? Suspension. Does the suspension move correctly? Are there any leaks in the seals? Bolts. Are all the nuts and bolts tight on the bike, including the chain if it has one? If you're unsure about how to check and rectify any of these issues, have a word with your rider trainer about this as they're training you. It's an important part of your development as a safe and responsible rider. Or you could check with the manufacturer or the supplier of the bike or anybody who does any of your servicing. One of the most important and critical factors in driver and rider safety, though, is the human being. Always check how you are feeling and if you're okay to ride before you hit the road. New riders are a big risk category, and you may necessarily be feeling a little anxious about riding on your own for the first time, regardless, and especially at a time that you may be asked to ride for work and in a working role. It's normal to feel a little bit scared, as being a rider is a big responsibility. But remember, you have been trained to a safe standard by your professional trainer, and they have judged you competent enough to be applied for a test and licensed. Apply what your instructor has taught you, and if you do feel that you need more training, contact your instructor for some refresher training if it's essential at this time to keep you feeling safe. Riding your bike may be safer for you than using public transport at this time, so it's important you feel prepared and in control. To help you feel more in control, get to know the vehicle if it's new to you. Get to know its controls and how it rides. Take it out for some test rides before you take it on any of those important journeys where you may be distracted by other issues than just how the bike feels. Plan your routes to and from work, or if journeying at work, as far as you can in advance. It's essential to know where you're going so you don't get distracted by losing yourself on a route. Use a map to help you plan your route. Use road signs, possibly sat-nav where possible, especially if you've always been a passenger and relied on the rider or driver in your previous riding and driving. Motorcycle reliability. Ensure you carry out the daily checks we've mentioned on the previous slide to minimise the risk of breakdowns and accidents. Distractions apply to any rider, no matter how experienced they are. Distractions are all around all road users all the time, so we need to be aware of what they are for each of us and consider how to best manage them when driving or riding. Give thought to where am I going? As we spoke about previously, know your route, plan your route, practice your route so you don't become distracted by getting lost. You may be thinking of family and friends at this difficult time. It's only natural. But try to clear your mind for any riding and don't encounter the serious risk of distraction. You might be thinking about work. Again, try to push that to the back of your mind for the period in which you have to ride to increase your safety and decrease your risk. Try and remove any technology that is going to be distractive. Clearly remove your phone and put it in a safe place. Mute any messages, mute any music, and if a sat-nav is a distraction, know your route through other methods so you're not distracted by that technology. Emotions can also be a distraction too, so consider your emotional state and try not to ride if you are feeling stressed, anxious or upset. You are only human after all, and given the human factors are so important in riding, give yourself a moment to manage those factors. If it's your first time riding in the UK and you're now being required to ride quite a lot as a key worker, you need to consider your risk as a new rider. Consider the following, that you know how to ride in the UK. We ride on the left, our speed is measured in miles per hour, not kilometres per hour. Know what road signs means by reading the highway code and speaking to a driver trainer. Change gears with the left hand. Familiarise yourself with switches and stalks. New riders to the UK should obtain a copy of the highway code and know your traffic signs and become familiar with them. Speak to a rider trainer for advice and guidance and training. Bike training may not be possible during the coronavirus pandemic unless you're a key worker where your role requires you to drive or ride, or you're required to have a new licence. Every journey, make sure you do your bolts check. Make sure you're feeling alert and safe to drive. If you're on any medication, check you can ride by reading the leaflet that accompanies the medication, or ask a pharmacist or medical professional over the phone. Plan your journey. You may need to adapt it by using road signs, maps, local knowledge and tools such as Google Street View to help you visualise where you're going if it's unknown. Road layouts and signs may have changed, so always go by the signs and road markings when you're riding. Be flexible with your route in case you need to go a different way. Consider road and weather conditions. During the spring, weather can change dramatically from heavy rain, wind, sleet and snow to bright sun. The roads can be slippery, so ride at a speed appropriate to the conditions and not necessarily the speed limit. With fewer vehicles on the road, some drivers and riders feel it is acceptable to travel at higher speeds right now. This is illegal and unsafe, so don't be tempted to join them. When passing and negotiating junctions, be extra vigilant by scanning with your eyes and ears. Reduce your speed when necessary to give you a better view and allow others to see you. Consider using your horn or flashing your lights to warn of your presence in areas where you don't think you're being well seen. Consider that one of the areas where riders face the most risk is other drivers not seeing them. And if people aren't taking due care at the moment, we don't want you to become a casualty of that. Your bike must be socially distanced too. Always use the tyres and tarmac approach when in a queue of traffic, as this gives you an escape route if you need to move away and out of danger. It also reduces the intake of fumes from the vehicle in front and helps reduce the risk to you and your bike from a rear-end collision if the vehicle doesn't stop. Have a charged up phone with you for your own personal safety in case you have an accident or get into any trouble. Consider tracking and tracing, letting a friend or member know when you've got to work and are about to leave to come home if you feel unsafe on that journey. And consider using tracking apps such as Find My Friends or Life360, particularly if you're going out into areas or contexts where you may feel unsafe riding on your own. Riding at night is obviously another area of key risk. As a key worker, you may be asked to ride in unsociable hours after dark and in early mornings. Just remember these few things. Lighting up time is 30 minutes after sunset to 30 minutes before sunrise. Check all lights and reflectors are working and clean. Ensure your number plates are clean and the lights are working on the rear number plate. Lights must not be set to dazzle, so ensure the main or full beam light is not illuminated on your dashboard, normally a blue light. Check any loads are secure, evenly distributed, and check the manufacturer's advice on tyre pressures. And keep mirrors clean. Look after yourself when riding at night as well. If you've been prescribed glasses or contacts by your optician, please wear them. If you're dazzled easily by oncoming traffic, slow down or come to a safe stop where possible. Do not close your eyes. If it helps, avert your gaze to the carriageway edge marking if you can't stop and follow that instead. Keep yourself safe, as we said before. Your personal safety is as important as your on-road safety. Think of your security and peace of mind and follow the protocols below about making sure somebody has your phone number and your route and knows how to contact you. And if you can contact them as agreed, that they should make an intervention of some kind. You can use tracking apps, as we've said before. In case you have breakdown, make sure you have your details of your recovery and make sure the recovery service identifies themselves to you. They will have all of your details, keep you informed and carry ID. Tell them, particularly if you're female and travelling alone or have any other vulnerability. Ensure you carry a high-vis reflective bib or jacket and carry water, a snack or any medication. Wear protective appropriate clothing for riding and to suit the environment you're working in. Always observe all health and safety rules, including those of riding, for the site or company you work for. And if any procedures have changed, make sure that you're up to speed on those. Only carry out duties in which you're competent and trained to do so, and also competent health-wise to do so, and that includes riding. Do not ride unless you feel that you are in the right state of health to do so. Personal protective equipment must not be worn when riding if it prevents proper control of the bike or impedes the vision of the rider. We hope you found that workshop useful. We will now ask you to complete a short test based on this lesson. You will need to score 16 out of 20 to pass. This is not obligatory, but it will help you understand whether you've taken on the learning from this session that is designed to help you keep safe on the roads and riding to and from and for work. In the meantime, keep well and keep safe out there.